Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the documentary Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy, directed by Nic Stacey. So this is a documentary about the manipulative tactics employed by the big brands to make consumers buy more. It's about consumerism, it's about the environment, the repercussions of this excessive consumerism. Now, this is a Netflix documentary. I don't think it actually had a release in cinema, and it definitely has the feel of a TV documentary. It's the kind of substance of it is based around a series of interviews with some former industry insiders. So it includes some whistleblowers, if you like, from Amazon and Adidas and Unilever. And these people have become they've left their jobs and they've become campaigners, kind of opposing the tactics that they previously were employed in using, and they reveal the strategies to make people buy more, the manipulative tactics, the dishonesty of these companies, in kind of creating this continuous consumer spending. So these are quite heavyweight whistleblowers. They're clearly people who know what they're talking about. But I would say overall that the documentary never feels in depth. It's got some good people, but somehow it feels like TV entertainment rather than serious documentary analysis. I suspect this is why this wasn't even considered for a film release. There's a lot of use of CGI in this film, in this documentary, and overall I often react strongly against overuse of CGI, and there is a lot of CGI in this, but actually in some ways I think it works well, because what it does is it uses CGI to show cities kind of completely overwhelmed by waste or flooding going onto the streets. And so actually, I do think it's quite effective, because you just see all this waste kind of falling off buildings and filling the street. It is quite effective. There are also some very strong images of some beaches in Ghana, which are littered with discarded clothing. And I don't think they make it clear enough. I think the fact that the rest of the film is CGI. This isn't CGI. We see people walking on the beach amongst it. And so I think it's not really that clear that that isn't CGI. I mean, it is if you think about that there's people walking on it. But there's a beach in Ghana literally covered in these clothes that have been dumped into the sea. And it's really shocking. And obviously it's a much more powerful image than the made-up images of the CGI. And I just thought that that could have been brought out a little bit more. There's also a segment of the documentary where they show an investigator who put trackers inside some electronic products that were going to waste. And they actually were able to follow where the products were going, and that they ended up in Thailand, and that it wasn't what the companies were saying was happening to the products. This was really, really good evidence, I thought. And I kind of feel the documentary could have done with a lot more in-depth evidence like this. Of course, this documentary was really timely. It was released just before Black Friday, and it did contain some incredible facts. 13 million phones are thrown away every day. That is incredible, isn't it? It also raised big questions about recycling symbols, which some of the interviewees claimed were just meaningless, that companies are making claims of recycling claims, but that when products are recycled, that actually most of them are just burned or buried. And another interesting fact was that lots of old clothes are sent to Africa, But there's too many pieces of clothing arriving. That's why we see them on the beach in Ghana. There's actually 30 million people in Ghana, but 15 million pieces of clothing are coming in every week. So it's crazy. There's just a complete overload of clothes, and they're just, shipped out of the Western markets, and just they end up on the beach in Ghana. I do think this documentary has some weaknesses. I already said it feels like a TV program rather than a serious documentary. I don't like the kind of narrative gimmicks that it uses. It has this AI narrator who's kind of giving it's as if the viewer is in a workshop or a lecture on giving advice how to sell more. So it's basically kind of giving you the rules of how to manipulate the market. And I just found this a little bit silly. It kind of undermines the really serious message of the whole thing. The whole thing does feel a little bit superficial. The stylistic choices all feel a little bit sensationalist. Um, I do think this documentary raises really important issues, and it gives, as I said, it gives lots of interesting facts about this consumer culture and corporate practices. I think overall, though, it's a populist piece of work. It's a Netflix documentary. It's made for entertainment rather than a real call to action. It's so lightweight, but I guess it does have its place. It is possible. Maybe I'm not the audience because I'm already, I read about this stuff. I'm already aware about these issues. But maybe some people will watch the documentary who don't quite realize how bad things are, and seeing these CGI images of just all this waste filling up the streets, maybe this just alerts people to the climate emergency that we're actually facing. So overall, I wouldn't say this documentary was a waste of time. I kind of enjoyed it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.